If you're one of those men who believe that women are a mystery, impossible to decipher, you're about to uncover something that will completely transform your perspective. There is a mistake, a flaw in mental programming that all women make without exception, and once you understand it, you will hold in your hands an advantage so powerful, so brutally effective, that you'll wonder how it's even possible no one ever told you before. But let me warn you, what you're about to hear is not for men with a fragile stomach. This is dark psychology applied directly to seduction, and if you decide to use this knowledge, there will be no turning back. So like this video if you dare to hear the truth, and prepare yourself, because we're about to walk straight into the darkest side of female attraction. Listen, for years, we men have believed that women were complicated, unpredictable, almost impossible to understand. We were told that each woman is her own separate world, that what works with one won't work with another, that everything depends on luck or good genetics. But all of that is a lie, a comfortable lie that keeps most men in ignorance, while a small group, the ones who know the real game, take the best women without even trying. The truth is that all women, absolutely all, share the same pattern of error, a mistake so fundamental, so deeply rooted in their psychology that it's almost impossible for them to avoid it. And this mistake is this: women confuse emotional intensity with authentic connection. Let me repeat it because it is crucial that you understand it clearly. Women do not fall in love with the right person. They fall in love with the man who makes them feel intense emotions, even when those emotions are negative. This means a man who makes her feel fear, uncertainty, jealousy, anxiety, holds more power over her than the man who treats her well, who is stable, who is predictable. And before you assume this is about being toxic or abusive, let me make something clear. I am not talking about mistreating anyone. I am talking about understanding a psychological principle and using it strategically. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago when he wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both, because fear is an emotion far more powerful than lukewarm affection. Most men do the exact opposite. They try to be pleasant, compliant, predictable. They think that if they are good enough, if they show enough interest, if they are always available, she will eventually recognize their value. But what they are really doing is becoming emotionally flat. They produce no intensity, no emotional movement, no inner roller coaster. And as a result, they fade into the background of her primitive brain, the part that actually decides who she feels attraction for. So how do you use this flaw to your advantage? This is where strategy begins. If you understand that she confuses emotional intensity with connection, your job is not to give her stability and peace. Your job is to become a consistent source of emotional highs and lows. Not in a way that turns you into a psychopath, but in a way that keeps her brain from ever placing you in the category of boring or predictable. And here is the first principle you must apply: the technique of emotional contrast. This means you should never stay on one single emotional frequency. If you're always warm, she gets used to it. If you're always distant, she gives up. But if you alternate between warmth and coldness, between attention and indifference, between being accessible and disappearing, her brain enters a state of confusion that it interprets as intense attraction. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine you had an incredible conversation with a girl. You both laughed. The chemistry was strong. Everything felt perfect. The mistake 99% of men make is trying to maintain that same level of intensity. They message her the next day with the same enthusiasm. They want to see her again soon. They want more of that good emotional high. But the man who understands the game does something different. After that perfect evening, he disappears for 2 or 3 days. He doesn't block her, he simply makes no contact. And when she eventually writes to him, because she will, he replies casually as if nothing special ever happened. What just happened inside her mind? She shifted from a high emotional peak into a valley of uncertainty. Her brain starts trying to understand why he isn't chasing her after such an amazing night. And that question, that mystery, creates an obsession far more powerful than if he had continued being the enthusiastic, always available guy. This is what Machiavelli would describe as maintaining your allies in a state of controlled dependence, never giving them enough security to fully relax. Now, the second principle is just as important: intermittent validation. It's a concept taken directly from behavioral psychology, specifically from experiments with rats and levers. When you press a lever and you always get food, you eventually get bored. But when you press the lever, and sometimes you get food, and sometimes you don't, you become addicted. You keep pressing obsessively because you never know when the next reward will come. Women function in the exact same way when it comes to masculine validation. If you always compliment her, if you always tell her how beautiful she is, if you are always impressed by her, it loses all its power. But if sometimes you compliment her, and sometimes you challenge her, if sometimes you make her feel special, and sometimes you act as if she doesn't impress you that much, she becomes addicted to the idea of trying to win your approval. And here is the masterstroke. When you give her validation, it must be after she has done something to earn it. Do not compliment her just for existing. Compliment the specific behaviors you want to reinforce. If she reaches out to you, if she makes an effort to see you, if she dresses well for you, that is when you give her the hit of validation. But if she acts indifferent, if she plays games, if she tests you, that is when you become indifferent too. Not as punishment, but as a mirror. This creates what is called a variable reinforcement cycle, and it is literally the same mechanism that makes people addicted to slot machines. She never knows when your approval will come, so she constantly tries to behave in a way that will earn it. And through that entire process, you maintain absolute control over the emotional dynamic of the relationship. Now, the third principle is the most twisted, but also the most effective, the seed of strategic insecurity. Before you assume this is cruel, let me explain the psychology behind it. Women, especially the most attractive ones, are used to men chasing them. They are used to being the prize, the one who holds the power. And when a man appears who refuses to play that game, who does not act as if she is the best thing that ever happened to him, something breaks inside her mind. Suddenly, she starts asking herself, why is this guy not impressed? What does he have that makes him not need my validation? Are there other women? Would I even be enough for him? And these questions, these insecurities, are like an addictive poison. The more she tries to answer them, the more she invests her thoughts in you. And the more she thinks about you, the more she convinces herself that there must be something special about you if she is this hooked. So how do you plant these seeds? Subtly. Never in an obvious way. For example, if she asks what you did over the weekend, don't give a complete answer. Say something like, I went out with some friends. It was interesting. And then let her imagination fill in the blanks. Or if you two are talking and you casually mention that someone texted you, don't explain anything. Just continue the conversation. These small gaps in information make her wonder what you're not telling her, and her mind automatically assumes it must be something important. This is pure information control, a technique Machiavelli would have admired. Never reveal everything. Mystery is power. And in the context of attraction, mystery turns into obsession, because her brain is wired to solve puzzles. And if you are a puzzle she can never fully solve, she never gets tired of trying. Now, let me talk to you about the fourth principle, and this one separates amateurs from masters: the control of the emotional frame. The frame is simply the person who defines the reality of the interaction. In most relationships, the woman controls the frame because the man reacts to her emotional states. If she's happy, he's happy. If she's upset, he panics trying to fix things. That means he is living inside her frame. But when you control the frame, the dynamic reverses completely. She begins to react to your emotional states. If you're calm and centered, she feels everything is fine. If you distance yourself, she feels anxiety. If you show disapproval, she feels she must adjust something. And the person who controls the emotional frame in the relationship is the person who holds the power. How do you achieve this? First, never react emotionally to her games or her drama. If she tries to provoke a reaction with jealousy, with indifference, or with emotional tests, you remain completely stable. Not because you suppress your emotions, but because they genuinely do not affect you. She can have her emotional storms, but you are the rock that does not move. Second, you are the one who defines what is acceptable and what is not. Not through lectures or ultimatums, but through your actions. If she does something you don't appreciate, you simply distance yourself. No drama, no long explanations, just natural consequences. And when she behaves in a way you do appreciate, you give her more of your time and more of your attention. This shapes her behavior without her ever realizing she is being shaped. And here is the part most men never understand. Controlling the frame does not mean being controlling. It means being so solid in your own reality that others naturally align to it. It is choosing to be the sun instead of a planet. Planets orbit the sun, not the other way around. And when you are the sun in the dynamic, she naturally orbits around your energy. But there is something else you must understand about this fundamental mistake women make. It's not just that they confuse intensity with connection. It's that their brain is biologically programmed to search for specific markers of masculine value, and those markers rarely match what they consciously say they want. Consciously, she will tell you she wants a man who is kind, respectful, who listens, who is her best friend. But unconsciously, her reptilian mind is scanning for signals of social dominance, pre-selection by other women, the ability to provide resources, and most of all, genes worth passing to the next generation. And these signals are transmitted through high-status behaviors, not through compliant ones. So when you understand that her true mistake is trusting her conscious mind instead of recognizing what her unconscious mind actually responds to, you gain a direct shortcut into her attraction system. You're not trying to convince her logical mind that you're a good choice. That is a complete waste of time. Instead, you activate directly those biological triggers of attraction. And how do you do that? Through 3 demonstrations of high value. First demonstration, emotional independence. This means your happiness, your peace, your sense of purpose do not depend on her. You have a life that is interesting and fulfilling with or without her. When she senses that you don't need her to feel complete, paradoxically, she begins to feel a stronger need for you, because humans value what is hard to obtain and devalue what comes easily. Second demonstration, leadership without asking permission. When you're together, you are the one who makes the decisions, not in a controlling way, but in a natural, grounded, effortless way. You're the one who suggests the place. You're the one who steers the conversation. You're the one who sets the pace. You don't ask her every 5 minutes what she wants to do, you simply lead, and give her the freedom to follow or not. Most of the time, she will follow, because it is refreshing to be with a man who knows where he is going. Third demonstration, perceived options. This doesn't mean you become a womanizer or boast about other women. It means that through your body language, your confidence, your lifestyle, you project the image of a man who has choices. A man who is with her because he chooses to be, not because she is his only option. And this perception completely shifts the power dynamic. Now I want to share with you a true story that illustrates all of this perfectly. I knew a guy, let's call him Marco, who was the perfect example of the nice, compliant man. A hard worker, respectful, always trying to make women happy, and always ending up in the friend zone or used as the shoulder they cried on while they chased men who treated them worse. One day, after yet another brutal rejection, Marco decided he'd had enough. He came to see me, and I explained to him exactly what I'm explaining to you now. I told him, the problem isn't that you're a good guy. The problem is that you're predictable, compliant, and emotionally transparent. You generate no emotional intensity. You're like lukewarm water, and nobody is obsessed with lukewarm water. So Marco did something radical. He stopped chasing. He stopped being always available. He stopped trying